Hello, public opinion aficionados, and welcome to Rasmussen Reports. And finally, I am here with that really big news that I've been talking about for weeks now. Listen, I started this channel because I wanted to talk about the numbers. I wanted to talk about all the demographic details, the crosstabs, the little nuances about methodology. And what do we find ourselves talking most about? Again, it's the lying mainstream media and all of their fake pollsters. And it got so bad this cycle that finally, we decided to do something about it. Listen, the industry is not getting better. And so it needs to be forced to get better. Just like we've been talking about, the Republicans probably need to be forced to be better. And the Democrats, quite frankly, I think are beyond all hope. But here's where we're going to start. We're going to talk about this chart that we've seen many times, the Real Clear Politics polling average of the national popular vote for the 2024 election. And as you can see, right at the beginning of August, Donald Trump was up roughly about 2 points here, right almost where that line is, a little bit to the right of it. And where did Donald Trump finish? Roughly about 2 points up. And that period in the purple box was just absolutely fake. This roughly 3 point average Kamala Harris national popular vote lead did not exist. It was manufactured. And of course, we all know week after week, Rasmussen Reports was putting out Trump plus two, Trump plus two, Trump plus two, as well as a few other pollsters. A few other pollsters had this race figured out just like we did. All the way back from September of 2021, the very first time that we showed that Donald Trump would win over Joe Biden in a hypothetical 2024 rematch. Some of these pollsters got so bad, even some pollsters that people would say, oh, that's a conservative pollster, or oh, that's an accurate independent pollster. Some of these people had Kamala Harris up 5 points. And I can tell you, I did the math. I looked at people like ABC, Washington Post, Reuters, Ipsos, Quinnipiac. All of these people were 6, 7, 8, and even 9 points to the left of me at the height of fake Kamala Harris momentum, going into that horrible debate that everybody tried to pretend was the best performance since Winston Churchill. Unbelievable and fake. And so it needs to change. And so it is. And I would like to bring your attention to this beautiful little tweet out of Robert Cahaly from Trafalgar, breaking four of the nation's most accurate public opinion research firms: Big Data Poll, that's Rich; Insider Polling, Insider Advantage, that's Matt Towery; Rasmussen Poll, that's me; and Trafalgar Group, Robert Cahaly, have announced the formation of the National Association of Independent Pollsters. Members will be chosen based solely on public polling accuracy, consistent public polling accuracy. Here's the press release. Elite group of national opinion researchers announced formation of the National Association of Independent Pollsters. Four of the most accurate public opinion research firms in the country have announced the formation of the National Association of Independent Pollsters. Big Data Poll, Insider Advantage, Rasmussen Reports, and Trafalgar Group are the organization's founding members. That's right. We expect it to grow. We expect people to want to join this. The association, founded on July 4th, 2025. That's right. Our Independence Day. Independence from fake and stupid polling. We'll be adding new members in the near future, and already some have reached out to us. Already, I know some names of people that we would happily invite into this organization, founded on integrity and not fake transparency and forced fake science about methodological mumbo jumbo that means nothing when people, because of their own inherent biases, consistently miss the left. Association membership is by invitation only. The criteria for membership is a US-based entity with a cumulative record of published public polling with a high degree of accuracy and low error rate. US-based entity. Sorry, Atlas. But this isn't like Gelliot Morris gatekeeping us with a bunch of fake questions that we shouldn't have to be asked because of our track record when he doesn't even understand what polling is. He did his first poll and he came up with Trump underwater 16 points when we had him up 5 or 6. The new organization will provide the very best of the polling industry, the opportunity to share ideas and explore the rapidly evolving changes in the industry. The association will not set standards or expectations for its members. Short of, we expect a modicum of integrity and consistent accuracy. We don't need to set any standards, given that anyone who is a member or future member of this organization has already established that they are among the most accurate pollsters in America, said Rich Barris of Big Data Poll, who will serve as the group's first chairman. Congratulations, Rich. Robert Cahaly of the Trafalgar Group will serve as the spokesman of the group. He can be reached at yada, yada, yada. Pretty good stuff. People are pretty happy about this. This is my response. Today, we celebrate our Independence Day. Got a lot of congrats. Love it. Well done, lads. Super appreciate it. Accuracy, and then everybody's nitpicking. And then people talking about, Qantas. Okay, well, these are the founding members, okay? Should make an X handle so we can all follow it. Yeah, we have one. It's just not public yet. Listen, this is new. We're still working on it. But here is how a very, very phenomenal journalist is covering this development. Washington Examiner Paul Bedard, top 2024 pollsters start group to challenge bias in media surveys. Four of the nation's most accurate 2024 election pollsters have formed an independent group to produce the very best data and challenge the bias in competing surveys, many run by the media and colleges. National Association of Independent Pollsters will start with all these names we know. Membership will be an invitation only based on a cumulative record of published public polling with a high degree of accuracy, lower error rate. And again, it's just repeating stuff in the press release. Its spokesman, Trafalgar pollster Robert Cahaly, told Washington Secrets, that the four polling organizations have been frustrated by inaccuracy in the industry and surveys that often hide how they are conducted, or quite frankly, knowing how they are conducted, we're surprised at how they get the results that they get. And yes, we four are banding together because of accuracy, but also because of mutual respect, trust, honesty, and integrity. I'm not the honest pollster for nothing. Ours is an alliance for accuracy, he said, adding that this group is going to have all kinds of different things it may do. It will, but it mainly is designed to celebrate groups that are accurate and put out information that is more accurate than others do. And yeah, a link to our press release. He expects the organization, formed July 4th, to share information to quickly expand. He said two other independent pollsters just today asked to become members. This was released like 3 hours ago. In the lead up to the 2024 election, and since, polls have been divided over President Donald Trump. They've been divided over President Donald Trump for a decade now, and the GOP control of Washington. Several independent polls, including the four in the new association, have found that Trump is more popular than he was during his first term, and Americans largely like what he's doing. Yeah, that's why he got more votes than he did the first time around. And that's why Trump is still polling today in our polling a job approval rating of net +2, exactly the net +2 that he won the election with. Isn't that weird? And then he refers back to one of my tweets, which was, I think, pretty profound. Here we have Harry Enton of CNN talking about, wow, isn't it crazy? Isn't it crazy that Americans want to deport all immigrants here illegally? To which I said, well, imagine if those pollsters, New York Times, Marquette, CBS News, and whoever the other one is, imagine if these pollsters had actually asked this question like before the election. Might they have been more accurate? We asked it before the election. We asked it years before the election because it's a relevant public opinion finding. Many media polls, however, have said the opposite, that Trump is not popular, and the press play up those polls over the independents, especially Newsweek, that like weekly cherry picks a bad Trump headline. Cahaly said it is unrealistic to think that media and college polls are unbiased, since the sponsors are biased and most are anti-Trump. We all know media organizations and universities have bias, but somehow they never suggest that their polling does. Yeah, that's what I've been saying forever. People have biases. I have biases, but I don't let it affect my polling, hence my track record. People would prefer to pretend that their pollsters, their mainstream pollsters, have no bias when they're traditionally 10, 15, 20 points to the left of people who have a good track record. It makes no frigging sense. And those are the people who get invited into organizations like the American Association for Public Opinion Research, which sets standards and ethics. It says that this new group is somewhat of a counter to the AAPOR. I can tell you the AAPOR is not a friend of Rasmussen reports. I think my understanding of the history is essentially rewriting the rules and bylaws so that we couldn't even be a member, treating us hostilely. For the new group, there is only one standard: getting the right results. The poll has one of two purposes: it is to reflect the electorate or to affect the electorate. Too many polls out there seem today like they're trying to affect the electorate, and our goal is to reflect it as closely as perfectly as we can. That's right. I perceive myself to be, call me a referee of representative democracy. We're just four groups that are absolutely obsessed with getting this stuff right: honesty and integrity. And if that means that we say Trump's going to win, that's fine. I'll say he's losing. I put polls out that showed that Trump was losing. In the 2024 election, for example, many media polls showed former Vice President Kamala Harris leading Trump, which even her internal polling never showed. Independent polls, however, showed Trump poised to win, especially in battleground states. Yeah. The most egregious example of a biased media poll was J.N. Seltzer and Company survey sponsored by the Des Moines Register showing Harris leapfrogging over Trump in the state 47-44 when Trump won Iowa 4 days later by a 14-point margin. There's that 17-point miss, which, as we've talked about, isn't quite as big as the implied miss that Atlas just put out with a Democrat +9 generic ballot. But it is what it is. Here's the American Association of Public Opinion Research, and I'm sure they're all really nice guys. They've sent us emails before. Here's one. We actually got one not long after the election. They actually acknowledged that we did a pretty good job and were interested in inviting us into a new transparency initiative, but they didn't want us invited as a member at large. That invite never came. Interesting. So we nail the election, and then all of a sudden we get an invite, transparency initiative, where ostensibly they wanted all of our raw data and weighting and all this information about our methodology. And it's like, no, sorry, guys. But the response to them after me saying, well, I'm not so sure, I'd need to know how you perceive us and why we aren't members or can't be members. Just jumping in here, the Transparency Initiative is independent of AAPOR membership. So, okay, you're not allowed to be a member, but we still want your data. You can absolutely join as a non-member, and is principally an attempt to encourage disclosure of methods and key polling information. They wanted my key polling information to aid the public in the interpretation of public survey results. Well, I give a methodology statement because differences in research methods can have a large impact on the results of public polls. The initiative started as a way to bolster trust in public polling. The AAPOR wants to get Rasmussen's data to restore trust in public polling without us being a member, and to help establish standards for what kinds of information needs to be available for interpretation of public opinion results by news media organizations and others. It comes back to standardization and transparency. And what I found is that transparency is not correlated with accuracy. In fact, there's probably a negative correlation. And that's one of the things that 538 under G. Gelliot Morris did. It expanded to include a transparency score, downweighting the role of accuracy in aggregating of their polling data. Probably not a good idea. I'm sorry to hear that you had issues with some AAPOR members in the past, but AAPOR is a bit of a big tent. And anyone interested in measuring public opinion should be able to find a supportive home there. We're like the redheaded stepchildren. They do not want us. Even if there are often disagreements around things like methodological effectiveness, there has also been a growing openness to non-traditional survey methods in recent years. I don't know. I think things like Ipsos's 50,000 person US panel is a non-traditional survey method, and a realization that traditional gold standard surveys are far from the only reasonable way to measure public opinion and may not even be the best. Well, this was written 4 weeks after the gold standard J.N. Seltzer blew Iowa. But, I think in general, the industry's feelings about the AAPO, not the industries, but the people like me who are now forming the National Association of Independent Pollsters, is that the AAPOR is hopelessly co-opted by leftists. So much so that I made a joke almost 2 months ago now because failed 538's head, G. Elliot Morris, who took over for Nate Silver, collaborated with, I believe it was Monmouth University's former pollster, to launch his inaugural poll. And it's 16 points to the left of a combined average of the good pollsters, people like the ones in the NAIP. Isn't that weird? When did this poll come out? Basically, the week of the AAPOR. And so G. Elliot Morris very publicly went there to shop this poll around and say, look at it. Isn't it great, guys? I can come up with super leftist results. And I think Atlas was there doing the same thing. So you go to their conference, you suck up to leftists with leftist polls, and you're in like Flynn. You get your contracts, you're off to the races, you're a new pollster. And maybe that's not how the industry works, but I'm an outsider. And to me, in my opinion, that's how it works. And we're going to change it now. We're going to change it. This should be the new organization. Results matter. Results matter, and not a heck of a lot else. And I can tell you, it's things like this that convince me that the lying in polls is only going to get worse. Because let's face it, we had like a Gallup -17 when I had Trump +5. We had Quinnipiac at -16 when I had Trump +8. We're talking about just a week or two ago. There are organizations that still are polling over 20 points to the left of me and these other honest pollsters. Time and time again, don't get me started about what they did to Trump at his 100-day mark, tanking his polling to get bad headlines for him. It's not going to end, because this is where the core of the Democrat Party's head is right now. Democrats told to get shot for the anti-Trump resistance. At town halls, in their districts, and in one-on-one meetings with constituents and activists, this is out of Axios, Democratic members of Congress are facing a growing thrum of demands to break the rules, fight dirty, don't let the Republicans get their way, and not be afraid to get hurt. Why it matters: House Democrats told Axios they see a growing anger among their base that has, in some cases, morphed into a disregard for American institutions, political traditions, and even the rule of law. Yeah, you made this problem, Democrats. Now you have to own it. You did this with your words and your rhetoric. Now it's coming back to bite you. This idea that we're going to save every norm and that we're not going to play Republicans' game, I don't think that's resonating with voters anymore, said one House Democrat. Another told Axios that a sense of fear and despair and anger among voters puts us in a different position where we can't keep following norms or decorum. Maybe it's time for these sanctuary cities and states to secede. I don't know. Axios spoke to more than 24 House Democrats for this story, with many requesting anonymity to offer candid insights about their interactions with constituents and activists. Zooming out, I hate how these are formatted. For months, Democrat lawmakers have fumed that their base's demands to fight harder misunderstand the lack of legislative and investigative power afforded to the minority party in Congress. Well, you played fast and loose by the rules for almost a decade now, and people still expect it. I'm sorry, you set the expectations. We've got people who are desperately wanting us to do something no matter what we say. They want more. I mean, it's just sad. He's the chair of the center-left New Democrat Coalition, whatever the hell center-left Democrat Coalition, whatever the hell that is. Liberal voters have angrily accosted Democrats at town halls for, in their view, not doing enough to counter President Trump's agenda. They think he is Hitler. In response, some Democrats have tried to up the ante, heckling Trump, mounting rogue impeachment attempts, and getting tackled by law enforcement and even indicted in their efforts to scrutinize the president's deportation campaign. They're losing political power. They know it. Their coalition is fragmenting, and so they're just going to accelerate. The grassroots wants more. Some of them have suggested what we really need is to be willing to get shot when visiting ICE facilities or federal agencies, a third House Democrat told Axios. Our own base is telling us that what we're doing is not good enough. There needs to be blood to grab the attention of the press and the public. I said with the No Kings rally, they are craving for a Kent state. They just don't know how to kick it off. The fourth House Democrat said constituents have told them civility isn't working and to prepare for violence to fight to protect our democracy. 46% of MSNBC viewers said that threats to democracy were the number one issue, by far the biggest number in that question. And it's a fake issue because literally Democrats had just anointed Kamala Harris without a Democratic primary process. A fifth House Democrat told Axios that people online have sent me crazy stuff, told me to storm the White House and stuff like that. Well, you said that January 6th was a violent insurrection. And then the guy who staged it got elected. And so, of course, they think this stuff. Between the lines, while other Democratic lawmakers said their discussions haven't gone that far, nearly everyone who spoke to Axios cited examples of voters' panic and fury, fueling demands to adopt brute force tactics. This is just, I mean, you made this bed, and now America has to lie in it. Republicans sat back, allowed this to be normalized. Democrats have gone absolutely insane, and they've allowed their craziest voices to take over. And stepping back, what I think is that you're going to continue to get lying in the polls. Many of these organizations are funded and operated by activists, the same kind of activists that show up at these town halls and say crazy crap to Democrat lawmakers. And so right now, the feedback mechanism in the Democrats is to make things worse, to up the ante, to destroy every institution in the pursuit of stopping Trump. And listen, all we're trying to do is get you accurate and honest polling. That's what the National Association of Independent Pollsters is about. And it's just the beginning. There's going to be more interesting stuff coming out about it. So if you're super happy about something like that, soon you will be able to follow that on Twitter, as well as check out our new coming website. But for now, make sure you follow everybody. Rich Barris, Robert Cahaley, Matt Towery of Insider Advantage, and of course us at Rasmussen_poll, and myself, an honest pollster. And don't forget to check out not just our YouTube channel. That's the best place to go. I know you might not like YouTube, Rasmussen_poll, but also our new channel that's going to be featuring clips from our show at Rasmussen_rewind, again at YouTube. Check out the link in the YouTube video description. And also don't forget to check out our weekly stream has gone to podcast, Apple Music, iTunes, Spotify, wherever. You can find us at Rasmussen Reports Reality Check. Hope to see you there. If you've learned something, please follow us at RasmussenReports.com, Rasmussen_poll at Twitter. Follow us on YouTube. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Mark_R_Mitchell at Twitter. And thanks for watching.